let's get started. It's 11:06 a.m. in the morning, EST here in New York, and I guess 8 a.m. in PST. And thank you for joining the sessions. So why don't we start talking about the competition and see if anyone wants to share anything before we dive into the coding session. I think this is a relatively straightforward competition, but obviously there's still ways to be very creative on this. So I want to hear, if anyone has good thoughts over the past week. Has anyone tried some of the later architectures like BERT? I think someone tried BERT in a notebook section.
Yeah, I haven't tried it, but I read a post in the discussion forum. So one person mentioned that they used Roberta for question answering, and they mentioned that the special tokens like period, signs, or exclamation marks, if you treat them as individual, split them as individual, then it gives a better performance.
Got it. Cool. Roberta, how is Roberta different from, what is Roberta's architecture? How is it different from BERT? Is it also a transformer?
Yeah, I think, isn't it this exact same architecture? It's just been, they changed the way that they trained it. I think they trained it on more data or something.
Got it. Cool. And is it also like a stack of encoders?
Yeah, I think it is. If I recall correctly, I haven't worked with Roberta a lot, but if I recall correctly, it's the exact same. It's literally an identical architecture, same number of parameters and everything as BERT.
Got it.
They just changed the training set or something and got a lot better performance.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, we definitely love to try that. Anyone else wants to say anything?
I did some basic stuff. I pulled out a validation set, 10%, and then trained with the rest, and then used your card and then took the mean, and I got much worse than my actual results I submitted last time. I don't know why, but it's probably because maybe I overfit. So, but my point of doing that was, I need to be able to hyperparameter tune, even just on epochs, right? Number, yeah. And so then I started looking at frameworks because I've coded that before, custom, but I want to start using a framework. And so I started looking at Ray Tune. It's part of the Ray project, and it's a great framework for it. However, it's a little too much for me to learn in an hour or two. So then I backed off, and I'm looking at scikit-learn, their capabilities for hyperparameter search and stuff like that. Does anyone have any thoughts or ideas, or do people typically do this on Kaggle competitions? What kind of tools?
Does scikit-learn have like I'm just ignorant on this. Does scikit-learn have like kind of hyperparameter tuning for natural language processing? I just didn't know that. This is all we have learned from the hands-on ML is like grid search, you know, things like that, and being able to kind of feed that into some sort of you know, kind of a like a classifier or, you know, regressor, you know, those kind of, then you instantiate object, then you pass that into a grid search CV, then you specify kind of a dictionary of the parameters that you want to tune or search, and to find the best results. Maybe there's something that's similar in other libraries that kind of implement the same way, you know, like kind of a grid search for NLP. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Were you just describing what you do with Scikit?
Sorry, I couldn't hear. Could you speak louder?
Did you just describe how you use scikit-learn?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, there is. Of course there is. Raytune.
Cool.
There's a bunch of them. There's a ton of these out there, but Raytune is, I mean, I think it's probably the next step up from that. But I don't know. I mean, it has more strategies, search strategies.
Mm-hmm.
They even use some sort of model, and it has. It's also got an adaptive tuning, so it looks at the, so you don't have to do like 1,000 combinations, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can find it even quicker as you do it. But it's also built to be distributed, so you could do it on your computer just fine. But then if you throw it on the cloud, it could use distributed computing easily.
Yeah, and the other thing is scikit-learn allows you to use multiple cores of your computer, even though you just have a GPU, but you can still do like distributed training or searching, so that's pretty cool. And I'm sure other libraries probably have the same. I would definitely encourage you to utilize that. And for scikit-learn, it's like n_jobs, and if I type in -1, it would just use as many cores as I have on my computer to parallelly search the parameters.
So that'll do parallel computing, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And has anyone tried like beam search?
That's not a hyperparameter tuning approach, I don't think, is it? That's more like or is it? I know you use that in generative models to predict the next word.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, maybe it's used somewhere else.
Let me look it up really quick. Beam search.
By the way, I posted the Raytune link.
Cool.
Well, what are the libraries in Scikit I should use, or the modules, or is it pretty obvious?
I was just mentioning like grid search CV.
Yeah, I found that. Good. If that's the main thing, starting point, I got that. That's cool.
Yeah. I just don't know whether, maybe there is a classifier or something, a class that you can call to within scikit-learn to kind of search the hyperparameters. But on the other hand, I think like a library like XGBoost actually, I think it's not inherent, it's not native to scikit-learn, but they built it so that you can actually use scikit-learn to cooperate with that library. So maybe there are libraries that cooperate with scikit-learn. I don't know. Okay, anyone else wants to say anything, make a comment, or show their notebooks before I dive into the coding session? I wonder, Darren, I forgot, what was the result that you got for your NER model?
Maybe it's on top of my notebook still. Let me look. It was 0.0. I don't know. It's like 0.6 something.
0.6 something. Okay, and that was for NER, name entity recognition.
Custom scikit. I'm sorry, the custom spacey notebook. It was a custom spacey.
Got it. And like, what are the what are the words that were extracted that were correct, and what are the words that were extracted that are, I guess, did not match? I mean, Jacquard is probably an imperfect metric.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's dumb. It's a dumb metric, for the lack of a better word. And
well, I can show you. Look, the one I did that got the one I did that got the 0.6, right? Or 0.65 or whatever it was. I don't remember how many epochs I did, but it was like 5. Okay, but I just did a 20, and it just did with my Jacquard measure and on my own without submitting it. And it's much lower, but I can sort of show you what it does. It's kind of interesting. It seems to like have some particular issues, but some of the ones it gets better,
Nice.
But then gets a lower Jacquard.
Yeah.
So, did you want me to share it? Is that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Hold on a second. Share screen. There we go. Share on the screen. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So just look at the second line there, right? What is their answer?
Yeah.
And what's my answer? Mine's better.
Sorry, the second line. Oh, you predict, sorry versus sorry to disappoint. Got it.
Yeah, I just can't see. You can make an argument either way. So, it's very arbitrary. Really fun begin with an exclamation mark. Well, it's a long sentence, so it's actually nice to have that really fun begin. But, fun is the key word in there. So at this point, it's, and there it gets good and good. So it's really inconsistent on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and let me show you something interesting. You see this line here with my flip-flop just broke? It has those dots, the ellipses in it. It says anytime it seems to me like anytime there's a non-word character, it just spacey freaks out and just throws the whole sentence back at you. I think that's what's happening. So even here, look at this one where it's got a parens at the end.
Yeah.
It just freaks out. I don't know why. Here's another one. Oh, no.
Is it possible to use like a subwords model?
I'm sorry. So you're thinking about I should clean some of the text maybe to deal with this. That's possible.
Yeah, like kind of using subword model, like kind of breaking up each word level token, and that will probably perhaps separate these dot or like bunch of exclamation points out, maybe.
Yeah. So the problem with that is I need to figure out how the heck you do that in the spacey model, and also get back out. Maybe it just works off to research it, and then you also have to get back out the original, which I think spacey supports, right?
I think there's a subword model library that's called is that fast text?
Yeah, no, I know about that.
Yeah.
I know about that library, but what I'm just trying to figure out is how to deal with training spacey on it, and then getting back out. But I think you're right. That's initially exactly what I thought. I think that's the road to go with those. What I should do is count those up, and see what's the biggest problems.
Yeah.
But that's why I want the hyperparameters, so I can because hyperparameters can really change the shit out of your results, right? So
yeah,
I don't want to spend my day looking at problems if they're inconsistent. Some of them are because of too much training or too little training, or there's a couple other parameters to tweak too. Because once I can do that, then you have a solid basis to really go in deep on problems.
Mm-hmm. And what are the hyperparameters to be tuned in this case?
It's a good question. I barely know. All I know is from I'm going to go to the actual training. So here's some of the training text. I mean, there's a training function that I stole and adapted a little bit. Cool. And you can see in here there's dropout. There's your annotation, so that's what you're training it with. I think there's a couple other things in here I thought I saw. So I need to research it and find out what there are, because they have a very specific model they use in Spacey for this.
Cool.
A very custom.
And what are the entities that are being detected here, kind of from a Spacey's perspective?
So because it's custom, I don't know if we name the entities, but it's our own custom entity, and so it's not doing it. It's not doing. You actually eliminate. Like, look up here. So if you go here, you can go when you're building your pipeline. Are you familiar with Spacey pipelines? It's a basic thing. I don't know much about it. But yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So it just runs. So what you do there's a default Spacey pipeline that has all sorts of processing in it: tokenization, NER, all that stuff. So in this case, what you're doing here is you're going, if NER not in, you're starting with an empty, a completely new, empty, non-trained pipeline. And it's doing is it's removing, I don't know what the hell it is. It's making sure you have an NER, only the NER part of your pipeline here. So you got a pipeline with just NER in it, I guess.
Got it. Got it.
So you're starting with normally when you go to Spacey and you do anything, it's got this pre-trained, pre-built pipeline, which depends on which language model you use, and usually you just use the short web one or whatever it is. And it has it all trained, and it'll give you named entities, and it'll do tokenization and all that stuff. So we're going in here with an empty model of sorts, and we're retraining the NER from scratch. And so I don't know if we name it in there, what it looks like, but I know. Here you go. Here's one. Predict. So anyway, I got to look more details.
Cool. Thank you for sharing the code. Yeah, that seems cool, and it it's not necessarily. I mean, just based on the metrics, yes, it's not a good score, but seems like you got a lot of the great stuff out. But on the other hand, I do feel like some of the selected text are like richer, meaning like, if this was for kind of a marketing project, I would love to kind of get more words that are associated with the sentiment. And I think, perhaps like, like the words to choose, on the second line as an example, like disappoint could be a word. Okay, that's the word that people have expressed. And and like if you look at the index 16655, it says like I'm bored, and I think the one that you predicted was I don't like it, and like it might be interesting, or it might be important in some use cases to get that bored word.
Yeah, that's much more informative from the marketing use case. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could see what I could see no matter which one you take, but I could see the purpose of doing this maybe is you could highlight what you extract in the sentence, because this is tweets. These are short things, right?
Yeah.
The doc is different, but you could highlight it in the sentence, whatever you select, and then you could cluster your highlighted, not that the highlighting matters to the clustering, and then you could cluster them to get types, and then from a marketing point of view, you could like kind of drill down into the types of negative reviews, and then quickly scan and see the highlighted words, and then read the ones you want to read. So I'm trying a really good use case, right? Because what you really want to do is be able to have this in your back pocket to use it in the future, and I guess that's one of them. And then maybe judging the results by that, right?
Yeah.
Right? I don't care about winning a competition. I'm not going to, you know.
Right. And if you look at like 13272, yours is actually better. Because feel useless is probably richer than you just useless.
Yeah. It's a little arbitrary. I mean, the main point I would think would be to make all of your extractions somewhat useful, right?
Absolutely.
Not to beat the Jacquard. I mean, how are you going to, you know, although, you know, you have human extraction, so the closer you get to the selected text, probably the better it is. But I probably want to get rid of these horrible ones, all these long ones, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because then, and a lot of times, what's being useful, like from a sentiment analysis or emotion analytics standpoint, within the marketing space, it's actually, you know, like these pairs of, like grammatical structure. For example, like, you know, if it's like what you just saw, right? Feeling disappointed or feeling sorry. And a lot of times it's good to get that kind of verb plus that adjective. And
that's really cool, because you know what you could do? If you could get it to extract the single most important word, right?
Yeah.
Of a particular word type, perhaps, then, like an adjective, then you could probably use a grammar, like grammar rules, to get
exactly
extraction, but it's assisted by this custom entity extraction or BERT or whatever you use. You know what I mean? It's called a sequence extraction, or custom sequence extraction. And then that would be pretty cool, because the grammar extraction kind of sucks. It's difficult. The rules are complex. You miss stuff. But combining it with something that hones it down like this might be really useful.
So that's what I kind of did for part of my work previously. You know, what I would do, what you know, if I was doing that job ever again, and building on top of what you just did, I would probably use part of speech tagging based on what you selected. Then, you know, using that as a kind of a basis for building some sort of grammar rules to further process the data, you know, especially the ones that are pretty long. Yeah.
I would highly recommend Spacey if you ever go down that match or grammar rule kind of stuff. That's to me, that's the core of Spacey.
Cool. Would definitely have to try that. Thank you, Darren. That is really cool. I really like it. Cool. Awesome. So it's 11:30. Let's spend like next 45 minutes to kind of code more and explore more. If you have if you have any questions, please feel free to, you know, even raise it up during the coding session. That's no problem at all. Otherwise, you know, we'll just talk at 12:15, 45 minutes later, EST. And so, yeah, talk to you guys in a bit. Okay, the time is up. It's 12:15 p.m. EST, and how's everyone doing? Anyone has any thoughts or comments? Yeah. Did anyone want to say anything?
Yeah, so I'm also doing the NER approach, but I'm using the Flare embeddings, and I was just working on getting the data set right, because
Cool.
they need it in a specific format to train. So that's what I'm working on.
What is the Flare embedding? Would you mind talking a little bit about that?
So I learned it from this group itself. So
Cool.
it's a open source library that's built on top of PyTorch, and it has all different types of embeddings, which you can just use it right out of the box. And a good feature is that they have traditional embeddings as well, along with BERT and Elmo and other contextual embeddings. And they provide a feature where you can actually stack them, like combine traditional with contextual and train it again. So that's pretty interesting. But I haven't used it yet, so this will be the first time I will use it.
Got it. Got it. How is this different? Is this similar to Hugging Face?
Um, I think so, but I don't know if Hugging Face has the feature of stacked. I don't know that, but
Got it. Okay. I'm looking at it right now. A powerful NLP library, a biomedical NER library, a text embedding library, a PyTorch NLP framework. Interesting.
I think Flare has their own architecture that they have implemented and custom embeddings, whereas Hugging Face just implements models that have been made by others.
Cool. And Hugging Face raised $10 million.
Yeah.
How do these I'm always curious, how do these
How do they make money?
source libraries raise so much money? Like what's the business model? Does anyone know?
I think right now Hugging Face has they are providing their inference APIs to companies at a cost. Like you
Got
can
it.
directly use their APIs, and they also provide service. Like all of that stuff is there.
Cool. Cool. Very nice. Because I feel like that's a creative business model for a lot of us who have a place for open source in our minds, but also, I think talking about open source burnouts, maintenance, they all cost time at least. And a lot of us have work and gotta pay bills. So I feel like a lot of times, these business models, creative business model can be something to explore. And it seems like they've been very successful, at least so far. I don't know if they're making profits or making money, but if they can raise so much money with an open source library that's really popular, then, a lot of times this might be a good way to approach a framework like that. So yeah, just to kind of put it out there, because that's certainly, yeah, I mean, a lot of times I feel like, between like open source and directly like licensing everything, I think there might be a different approach, like a hybrid approach like this, you know, making money while open sourcing. So certainly something to keep an eye on. Anyone else has any comments? I'm looking at their embeddings right now. I wonder what kind of embeddings they provide. Token, so they provide some sort of token embedding. Stacked, yeah, stack embedding. Let me share screen. This is what I'm looking at within the Flare library. And it seems like they have these document embedding, image, legacy, token. What is this document embedding? Document embeddings. Transformer document embedding. That's interesting. I think Darren hosted a talk from someone else talking about document embeddings, long form.
That was Sujit, Paul.
Suji, yeah. Interesting. Cool. So maybe we should try this as well.
So I see it's a little bit like universal sentence, USE, universal sentence embedding. You just use it. I don't know if they have fine tuning, but it just puts all those embeddings at your fingertips, a bunch of them, and then allows you to, like Gotham said, stack them, combine them. I tried to use it. I actually found the documentation to be a little difficult or wrong, or I don't know. I found a tutorial and I couldn't get it to work. And
got it.
Yeah, so it needs to get further with it, Gotham, to me, because it's very convenient.
And how would you use the embeddings in our case?
Oh, dude, almost everything we do nowadays uses embeddings. It's just which one you use. So, I mean, obviously, you could set up an NER with BERT, right? I don't know, Gotham, what you have in mind, but if you were going to do, I mean, I guess there's a couple ways to approach a task, right? One is you use like the Transformers pre-built architecture for NER. I think they have one. Another one, I don't know how, Gotham, you're going to approach it, but another one would be you start with BERT embeddings and you somehow create your own NER process. In fact, and then you use different embeddings and see which ones work better. So, Gotham, do you have any thoughts about that, how you do that?
I think that was Parth who had the idea. But yeah, Flare has a custom NER architecture that was state of the art like a year ago. So I think one time you can search for Flare custom NER. You should get.
So Flare has its own.
They use. Yeah, I mean they made an architecture that was state of the art at the time. I think it had some transformer with CRF on top or something like that. That was the state of the art at a time.
Parth, what have you found with Flare? Your thoughts on using it? Is that why you're going to try to use their pre-built NER model?
Right here. This is the NER model. Sequence tagger model. Cool. Let's look at their documentation. Flare. Documentation.
What's sort of interesting is when I watched the video on the Spacey NER model, they also use some sort of sequence type model. It's different, than the normal models.
Do they have a website? Let me see if they have a website.
Yeah, they do not have a special documentation website. It's all on the GitHub. So if you cool down a little.
And it's developed by University of Berlin, Humboldt University of Berlin, and so it's developed by people from Germany.
Yeah,
Tutorials, okay.
Yeah,
Tagging or text. They're tutorials. Cool. Sequence tagging. Content tagging. For class name entity recognition. Interesting. Cool. I'm glad they provide a bunch of tutorials. Here's Elmo and Bert. So when you talk about embedding, are you talking about like training embeddings for named entities? Is that what it is? Or just word embeddings?
Yeah, that's the question. I don't think you train the embeddings for NER. What you use you use specific embeddings. That's what you start with as your input into your neural.
Okay.
I don't know if it's always like that, but that's basically the way when we're talking about using different embeddings.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's the way how I learn it. I just, I haven't dealt with NER much.
In the old days, you could think of TF-IDF as embeddings.
Right. Just your just your weights. Yeah. And frequency, weighted frequency. Yeah. Cool. This is very cool. Anyone else wants to say anything? Okay, well, if no one wants to say anything and we're on time, then let's kind of wrap it up here. And let's keep going, on the competition, and hopefully we'll have more to discuss and share next session. Really appreciate everyone joining, and hope everyone has a productive week.
Thank you.
Thank you.